and his puppy on his lap, cigarettes curling, smoking his political trap. Michael Vass roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough. He's a Republican dragon with his truthful slight, fights the battles unseen in the shadows of the night. From policy to passion, he breaks it all down, giving a voice to the voiceless, wearing his crown. Caffeine-fueled mornings, the smoke curls dance, Puppy at his feet, giving life one more chance. Through algorithms and bias, he cuts straight and clear. Michael's roar echoes in the hemisphere. Michael Vass roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough. No soundbites allowed is his ultimate creed. A dragon's perspective where facts are the seed. Standing tall on his battlefield of thoughts, guarding the truth that others forgot. Michael Vass roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, the political dragon here in our offices in the Bronx, New York. It is August 13th, and it's currently 7:47 in the evening, slightly off on my time. Why would I pick 7:40? Well, normally on Wednesdays, we do the 8 p.m. We have the Wednesday roundtable with the Liberty First Foundation. But we're all working guys. So we're not all available all the time. I know most of the guys are working right now, and so they're not able to be on the show. But you know what? I've been with you guys years upon years, every Wednesday, talking about what's going on. I'm not going to stop since I had the opportunity to do so. So I'm here, and I'm going to talk with you about some of the issues that I think are affecting all of us, that I think are pretty important here in the middle of the week. Some of them you won't be hearing about by the weekend. That's the way the news cycle goes right now. You get about 3 days, and then everything dies off, and we get into the next thing, because the media is constantly looking for a way to grab your eyeballs. And it's kind of upsetting. So it's kind of like the Sunday live stream, but not quite. So we're going to have some fun. And we may have some people join us in the middle of the show. I don't know. I sent out a couple of invitations, so some people may show up. They may not. We'll work it. We'll take it by ear. Okay. And I hope you'll appreciate that. Also, give me a moment, because I just want to make sure that the Rumble is up at the moment. And if you're wondering, yes, I was in the rain. My puppy, my dog Khan, who's 14 years old, decided at the last minute that he wanted to go out right before the show started. And so we had to go out in the rain, because he decided that he wanted to be out in the rain. Didn't want to go out before the rain. He wanted to go out in the rain. Fun dog. So we had to deal with that. That was a lot of fun. And so I was out in the rain. That's kind of why I had to push it back from 7:30 to 7:45. Here we are. And as you can see in the ticker going by, I did. Let me start the show off. It is crazy, the bills that we see out there right now. Healthcare is incredibly expensive. I think we've all are aware of that. And we all want some kind of break. But it's just absolutely insane. And the biggest thing that's making healthcare, whether it's for human beings or for our pets, why is it so expensive? Insurance. Insurance. It's just like, why is college so expensive? Well, college got expensive because the government kept giving colleges more money. They gave more money to student loans. And as they gave more, the tuition rose up and rose up and rose up. And you had more and more middle managers whose only job was to try and figure out how to get another grant from the government and get more money. In healthcare, what we tend to see, malpractice is the number one cause, or has been the leading cause for many years now, the leading cause of the cost increase in healthcare, because doctors get sued for their bad doctors. They make a mistake just because someone has a frivolous lawsuit. They decide they're just going to sue. They'll sue for $200,000. The insurance will settle for $30,000. That person walks away. They pay their lawyer's fee of $10,000, and they walk away with $5,000 in cash. That's the reason why healthcare is so expensive. It's that kind of abuse of the system. And at the same time, we have so many regulations coming from the government mandating that we have to have insurance, Obamacare or some kind of healthcare insurance. Everyone's required to have it, whether you're 26, any individual. And every insurer, every hospital, every healthcare provider, they know, well, if everyone has insurance, they can charge as much as they want. They can charge top dollar on the bills because the insurance is going to pay. Now, the insurance may not pay 100%. There was a recent story, I think, Hard Lens Media, who my friend Kit Cabello out of Chicago this morning, he was talking about a story about a woman who in Chicago news, she had a 15-minute visit to a hospital. She had to take a helicopter and then an ambulance. The helicopter ride was about 15 minutes. She had to take an ambulance 0.3 miles to the hospital from the helicopter pad. The total to take care of her child, who had gotten burned because a rice cooker fell on a baby and gave him second-degree burns, was $100,000. The helicopter ride was like $56,000. The ambulance to take her a 1.3 of a mile, 1/3 of a mile, was $10,000. That's just ridiculous. $10,000 to go 1/3 of a mile in an ambulance. And she, for 3 years, was going through that healthcare bill. Now, her health insurance company paid half of the helicopter and half of the other medical bills. So she was left with about $50,000 in bills, most of it from the helicopter and from the ambulance. And the reason why that was charged, why they charged that much, is they knew that they could get 50% of the money, if not more, from the insurance company. So that covered their cost, and I am sure built-in profit as well. They knew it. And the rest is just cake. If she ever wound up paying, well, that would just be extra money. And they could have people go after her forever, saying that they're going to destroy her credit and she'll never be able to get any credit cards or any loans or anything else ever in her life if she doesn't pay something. And they didn't care. They didn't care. Now, as it turned out, the news media, Chicago News, went and investigated, and they made this public. At the time that they went public with this story about what this woman had to go through for taking care of her child who had second-degree burns, well, the helicopter company waived the $56,000 bill that they had given her. So they already got paid $50,000 from the insurance. Her part of the bill, they waived, which means they didn't care. They didn't need her part of the bill. They already got paid. It already covered their cost to transport her and extra. So they made their money and profit. This was just extra money. So they waived it completely. The ambulance company that took the mother a third of a mile and charged her $10,000 to do that, they waived their fee too, because they were on the news and because they knew they were going to be mentioned, because they knew that this is abominable behavior. They said, oh, we don't need it. Because realistically, it doesn't cost $10,000 to go a third of a mile. You're talking about, that's like down the corner, down the block. And that costs $10,000? No, of course it doesn't. And they couldn't say, oh, it was a rounding error. You had 3 years. 3 years to get it right. So, no. The cost is so high because we have to have insurance, because there's so many regulations from the government forcing us to have healthcare insurance that it's driven up the cost, and people are taking advantage of that. So they sued their doctors because they are flush with cash because of the insurance companies, and they make frivolous lawsuits that they settle out of court for pennies on the dollar, but it's just free money. And that's why healthcare is so expensive. And that filters into everything else. So I said that all because, as you can see in the ticker, my dog is 14 years old, which is a good age for a dog. I mean, he's pretty healthy. I mean, most people look at him, he looks like a puppy. From time to time, you see him, he pops up on the show. He's either barking at me or I bring him up and you can see him on camera. He's asleep right now. And 14 years old, and his age is finally starting to catch up to him. Took him in last week for a regular checkup. Seems he might have a heart condition. Seems he may have a liver condition, which is not uncommon for dogs of his age. Obviously, I want to make sure he's going to be okay. $3,500. Can you believe that? $3,500. And that's mostly because he needs an ultrasound of his chest, an ultrasound of his liver. Those two things alone are $1,500. $1,500. It's an extra $100 to get the results of the ultrasound. I have the bill. And if anyone ever asks, and if anyone's wondering about it, I'll be happy. I'll provide it publicly. I have no problem publicly showing you the bill, the proposed bill I'm getting, of what it's going to cost. That has nothing to do with actually treating my dog. That's just to confirm that he has a heart condition and or a liver condition. $3,500. $1,500 just for the ultrasounds. $100 just to get the results of the ultrasound. I'm like, you're telling me it's $1,600. That's without anything else. And there's several other tests that he needs. $3,500. It's crazy. It's healthcare for humans and for our pets is ridiculous. And I believe that the vet, in terms of our pets, it's even more ridiculous because no one's covering that. Everyone's screaming about healthcare for human beings and for individuals, but you never hear anyone talking about our pets. No one ever brings up the cost of our pets. And they have people over a barrel. Well, as we have more and more people who are not pair bonding, they're not getting married. We have more people who are single and old. And so they want some companionship. They want some relationship in their life. They have no kids. They're not married. They don't have a significant other person in their life because of the choices they've made up to that date. That's women. That's men. Doesn't matter. We're winding up single and alone, and more people are getting pets. We saw this really spike after the Summer of Love and the BLM riots. That was in 2020, 2021. We saw a big spike in people who are alone and they just want companionship. They want someone there, and they don't have another human being, and they don't have offspring. So they're going for the pets. And now we're seeing that the inflation is through the bloody roof. Through the roof. It's insane. So, and by the way, hello, Peace Logic. Glad to see you here with us. And I'm also glad to see John has joined us. Thank you for making comments today, helping us with the algorithm. We do appreciate that. So, yeah, I'm a poor man. I'm not embarrassed by that. Not embarrassed to say I'm a poor man. Luckily, I'm in good health. I don't go to doctors. I don't take medications. I haven't ever since I've been like 18. I don't take medications of any type ever. I barely take aspirin. I don't go to doctors because I don't need to. So I don't really care about that. So it's not about me, but but my puppy. Yeah, he goes in on a regular basis. This is breaking my bank. Peace Logic says, I demand free healthcare for pets. And yes, my best friend has 7 dogs and they're his kids. We hear that all the time, Peace. A lot of people who have their pets, they refer to them as their children. We hear a lot of women who look at their cat or their dog, whatever their pets are, and they refer to them as their children. We hear that all the time. And men do that as well, women more so. I understand it. I'm a dog owner. My dog has been with me 14 years. He's always at my side. And I love him dearly. The prices are just ridiculous. I mean, it was not this expensive 10 years ago. Just taking him for a checkup wasn't as expensive as it is right now. And yeah, now I'm in New York City as opposed to upstate New York, but the prices have just skyrocketed. It's ridiculous. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And yes, if you do any from now until I can get him in to get checked up, all of the super chats, all of the Patreon, everything, whether you go to Zazzle, you buy a mug, buy one of these mugs. Can you see it? Is it in focus? We got a couple of exclusive mugs and t-shirts and such. All of that is going towards paying for my dog to get his checkup. So, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to do a super chat. You don't have to go to Patreon. You don't have to go to PayPal. You can just like and subscribe. That's fine too. Like and subscribe. We'll get, we get to 5,000 or so subscribers. I can get somebody who will be a sponsor of the show, and that could help pay my bills too. So either way, I don't mind. Let's see. Peace Logic says, what's this piece? You do smoke, right? Yes, I do. It's a great time to quit. No, I don't vape. I tried vaping. It doesn't work for me. Can't stand it. And it's next to my list to quit. I hate that I'm addicted to nicotine. I don't mind that I'm addicted to nicotine. Everyone has a vice. I don't drink anymore. I mean, I'll still go out and I have a beer or I'll have a scotch. Literally, I'll go out and have 2 beers or I'll have 1 scotch. And that's rare these days. I don't think I've had a drink in a year, maybe 2. Not because I can't drink, but just because I really haven't had the opportunity, really haven't had a desire. So it's not a big deal. So the only vice I really have anymore, video games and smoking cigarettes. And in terms of video games, I already own the games. I've had them for years. The things I like to play, I've tend to had for years. So that's not really an ongoing expense. But people are concerned. So that is important. By the way, Peace Logic, thank you for the super chat of $2. Thank you. Everyone can do a super chat, RumbleRant. I do appreciate it. Again, all of this is anything and everything we can raise is going to go to taking care of my puppy, just so you guys know. I like to be transparent. And I'm telling you, and again, anyone asks at any point, and I'll probably do this on Sunday, I'll provide a copy of the bill that they're showing me, what it's going to cost to just find out whether he's got a heart condition or a liver condition. So I will show you guys that because I'm transparent. I have no problem being honest with you guys about why I'm trying to raise money. Hey, I'm not rich. Let's see. Peace says, yeah, I'm the same with alcohol. Very rare these days. Yeah. When I was 20, I was much more, when I was a stockbroker, I drank like a fish. When I was a stockbroker, I would go out and spend $700 to $1,000 a night. Literally every night. I'd spend 5 hours out drinking minimum every day when I was a stockbroker. Those years were crazy, but I had enough. I made money. I was making 6 figures and I had more than enough money to burn to go out every night and hang out with people and buy a bar, go into a bar and buy every woman a drink and drink for myself. That's why it was like $700 or plus. I'd be buying other people drinks, not just me drinking. But and I was in Manhattan, so it was more expensive. But yeah, I did that for years. So I mean, no saint. I'm no saint by any means. I admit that. But it's now not so much. Yes, peace. This is for the puppy fund. I should call it that, the puppy fund. We're the rest of the month of August, if not September. This is our puppy fund. So, but I wasn't planning to talk about healthcare. I wasn't planning to talk about pet care as much or at all, really. That wasn't my intention initially. I was looking to talk about a couple of other issues. But, we're all in this together. So I wanted to make you guys aware of what's going on with me. P says, you look healthy, Mike. Are you using an AI beauty filter? I don't think they have AI filters that strong. No, this is how I look. No filters. I don't believe in filters, makeup. My lighting isn't the best. So I'm not quite as pale as the lighting makes me look like. But other than that, nope, this is how I look. And this is me, the real deal. I just have, not unlike Sydney Sweeney, I have great genes. Better than everyone else in my family, by the way. I have great genes. I won the lottery in the genes. That my genes allow me to eat whatever I want. I have no allergies. I have no restrictions. I can eat. I have a high enough metabolism. I don't gain weight. If anything, if I don't eat enough, I lose weight, which has been a problem my entire life. I can easily lose 5 pounds in a week if I don't eat enough food. And I eat mostly meats, red meat. It's perfectly fine. My cholesterol's probably lower than almost everybody in the Bronx, naturally. And I don't need any medications. Doctors don't know what to do with me. Doctors never know what to do. They freak out because it's like everything that they want to prescribe to me, I don't need. Everything that they think should be a problem for me isn't. And so they don't know what to do. They just freak out every time I go in for a checkup. It drives them nuts. It's kind of funny. I have a fun time with it. But anyway, I wasn't planning to talk about healthcare tonight. And thank you for sending love to my puppy, who's Khan. I do hope everything's going to be all right for him. Trust me, if anything's not right with him, I will tell you guys, and he is my priority. I don't have kids. I don't look at my puppy as my kid, but he is dear to my heart. And yes, if something's happening with him, I will take time off. I will take care of him. Absolutely. Yeah, the green screen. I know the green screen sucks. It's because of I'm not in the studio. When I was when I lived in Broome County 2 years ago, before I lost my home, before I lost 90% of everything I owned, I had a studio. And that studio had $80,000 worth of equipment. I don't have that studio anymore. I lost it all. Everything. There's a couple of people who are on this channel who are regular viewers in the audience, and they were there. We cleared out my entire house. I got $100. That's it. $80,000 worth of electronic equipment. I lost everything. Studio, everything. So where I'm at now, I don't really have a studio. I'm in an apartment in the Bronx. And this is in the corner of that apartment. I'm in a room in my family's apartment. I'm in a corner of a room. Lighting is not great. So I make do as best I can. So yes, I do realize it isn't the best. Hey, I make do with what I can. All right. So all of that being said, what did I actually want to talk about tonight? because healthcare is important, and that's part of what's happening in New York City. And we're going to talk about the Zoran Mandami. We're going to talk about the Democratic Socialists. We're going to talk about Andrew Cuomo, Eric Adams. They're all offering free stuff. They're telling you that everything's going to be free and you're going to be fine. They're offering you free housing. They're offering you $30 an hour. We're going to talk a little bit about that insanity and how it's affecting the rest of the country. But before we get to that, I want to talk about DC, because people are freaking out. Right now, if you're listening to the left talking about Washington, D.C., there's two main stories that are going out there. DC is crime-ridden and is a problem, or DC is a garden spot and there is no problem, which we know is a lie. So everyone you're hearing this from all the Democratic pundits, MSNBC, CNN, they're telling you there's no problem. There's no problem with crime in Washington, D.C. That's a lie. It is one of the highest crime-ridden areas, violent crimes, in the nation. Yes, it is down, apparently, from where it's been in the past. It's still higher for the number of people, 700,000 people. It is one of the highest crime rates in the country. That's just a fact. That's always been the truth. And this isn't new. We were talking about the crime in Washington, D.C. under President Clinton, under President Obama, under both Presidents Bush. We were talking about the crime rates, the fact that there's abject poverty just outside of the White House, that while D.C. had the crackhead Marion Barry as their mayor, he completely failed. The city was filled with crack, including the mayor, who got elected twice. He got elected as mayor, got found out to be a crackhead, was kicked out, and then ran again and got reelected because he's a Democrat. DC has always been a problem, massive problem. And there's always been violent crime in DC, property crime in DC. And it has always been higher than other cities of the same size. You compare it to other cities the same size across the country, it has a higher crime rate, always has. It has more poverty than any other city of its same size across the country. That's a fact, always has. So this is an ongoing problem. And now you're being told, I'm being told, it's a garden spot. No, there's no problem. The mayor can handle it all. She's been failing. She isn't handling it. She has failed. Many Democrats, because they're all Democrats. Everyone who runs DC, every mayor is, of course, a Democrat. But they've all failed for years upon years upon years. Isn't it time we fix this? Oh, but it's Donald Trump. So that means it's authoritarian. I want you to understand the logic that's being put out there. Because it's Donald Trump, fixing the problem is authoritarian. And of course, it's not nearly the problem that we all know it has been. It's just not. Why? Donald Trump. This is stupid. This makes no sense. It makes no sense to anyone. Peace Logic says, I remember that. I was living in D.C. on Capitol Hill. I now live in Virginia, about 20 minutes away from D.C. I'm not lying about any of this stuff. You know that, Peace Logic. People who live in the region, they know this. This is not new. Most of the crime happens in the 8th Ward, the southeast section of Washington, D.C., which happens to be where most of the poor people in Washington, D.C. live. That's just a fact. That's where most of the shootings are. That's where most of the highest amount of violent crimes are. But there's crime throughout all of D.C., especially property crime, carjackings in particular, and teenagers running amok. That's throughout all of D.C. But most of the violent crime, gangs and such, drugs, that's in the 8th Ward, Southeast D.C. This is not new news. This is not shocking. But if you listen to places like CNN, they're going to tell you that you don't understand what's really happening. They'll tell you that you're a liar for knowing the truth. Let me show you what I mean. This is from CNN. This came out August 11th, 2 days ago. Fact check. Violent crime in D.C. has fallen in 2024 and 2025 after a spike in 2023. Okay, that's not really telling us much. Yeah, it was higher. That doesn't mean it's good now. It doesn't mean there's no crime now and there was crime before. No, they're saying that it's not as much crime, not as much violent crime, but that's not the same thing as saying there's no crime. That doesn't mean it's safe. It doesn't mean it's good. It just means that it's not as bad. It's been worse. Okay, so let's see what they have to say here. So Donald Trump came in, took it over, and they're saying to us, well, look at the chart since 2010. Notice they're not going back further. The numbers are way higher the further back in time you go. These, and by the way, all Democrats, only Democrats have been elected as mayor of D.C. So this is a Democrat problem. These are Democrat policies that have ruined Washington, D.C. And you can see, okay, yeah, crime is down-ish. It's down-ish. On any given year, what we see is the trend is it's pretty much plateaued at about 600. And yes, 2024 is a little bit down, but then again, 2023 was a little bit, it was an aberration. It was higher than normal. This year, 2024 was lower than the norm. The norm is right here, about 600. So that's pretty damn high. But they want you to think, oh, no, it's all perfectly fine. There's no problem there. No, there is a problem there. So when we look at Washington, and they admit it here, Washington has been a relatively high crime place for decades, with a homicide rate that has persistently been among the country's worst for big cities. Then why not fix it? Why are they playing this game like, oh no, DC's fantastic, Trump has no reason to go in there? It's a problem, a persistent problem in our capital. Let's think about this. The data they have here, homicide spiked. So in 2023, there were 274 homicides. Highest figure since 1997. That's ridiculous. For 700,000 people. That's ridiculously high. And now it went down. It's been as high as 470. That's in the 90s. Again, chart was way higher. It's come down. Great. It's still bad. And right now, we're looking at about 99 homicides for the first 7 months of 2025. That's a little bit less than what the trend, it's lower than what we've seen recently, but we're not done with the year. And that number will go up. It will get to somewhere in the upper 200, 300 range. It will happen, if not higher. Happens every year. So we know what's going to happen. It's consistently been happening. I would love it to be lower, but these are still bad numbers. And they're trying to conflate the idea that, well, this isn't a problem because the number isn't as bad as it's been. It's still bad. And when we look at these numbers, I also want you to understand something else that the news media is trying to gloss over, and they've been very adamant to not talk about this. Back on July 18th, NBC reported that the DC police commander was suspended because he made up the numbers. That because the Democrats, the mayor, the Democrats in charge of Washington, D.C., they didn't like the crime statistics. The numbers were bad. And we have heard from the police union since then that police in D.C. have been told, change the crime, lower the numbers. Is it a violent crime? Okay, it's not that violent crime. Now it's something like a misdemeanor. Oh, this is a family dispute. This is a violent fight. And instead it becomes disturbing the peace. So instead of having domestic abuse with a weapon, it becomes disturbing the peace, which is probably one of the charges they would have put on this individual, but it's the one that they show to the media, the one that they report to the public is disturbing the peace. They don't mention the domestic abuse because it looks better for Democrats. It looks like they're being effective, that their policies are working. Truth. But somehow, NBC News, CNN, MSNBC, who had this data, have this proof in July, now in August, don't remember it. Oh, that doesn't matter anymore. No, the numbers are absolutely perfectly correct, even though we know this guy got fired because they're not correct, because we know that police are changing the crimes. They're messing with the data to make their bosses look good. So again, that's a reason why Trump should be in Texas, should be in DC, and we should fix this. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, but Mike, Texas is, DC, Trump can't take it over. Trump's taking over city. It's authoritarian. No, it's not. It's not authoritarian. Let's again get rid of the crap spin that's coming from the media, because they are desperate to find Orange Man bad. You got to be afraid of Trump. You got to vote Democrat because Trump is so bad. Look, Trump is going into Washington, D.C. That's because he's making up the crime numbers. No, he's not. And it's not nearly that bad. Yes, it is. And he doesn't have the right to do this. Yes, he does. He does have the Home Rule Act. He has the right to go into Washington, D.C. because Washington, D.C. is not like a city. In fact, Washington, D.C. isn't a city. It's actually almost not part of the United States. D.C. is completely separate of everything else. Did you know that you're not supposed to be able to vote in Washington, D.C.? If you live in Washington, D.C., you don't get to vote. A lot of people don't recognize that. They don't realize that. Because as per our Constitution, it's not supposed to be populated. That is our capital. People go there to run our government, and then they go home. Then they go back to wherever they came from, their state, and they vote there. You can work in D.C. all you want. Then you go to your state and you vote. But we, over the years, got lazy. We grew and we expanded our government and we got lazy. And so people live around D.C. But D.C. is not a state. It is not a city. It is a territory of the United States. That's why it is run. There is no governor of D.C. because they're not a state. There is the next person. You have Mario Bowser is the mayor, and her boss is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Congress. The media leaves this out all the time. Congress runs D.C. The federal government is who runs Washington, D.C. That's a fact. That has always been the fact. And that was done on purpose so that no state can take advantage or have extra privilege or extra power versus any other state because the capital's in that state. It's the reason why we took New York City was the original capital of the United States. But that gave too much power in politics to New York City. And so we said we had to move it because southern states, even the other northern states, were all jealous. All the power, all the money was centralized around New York City because that was the capital. So we have to take it out of there. And so we were going to put it somewhere, and every state wanted it, but no one wanted the swamp that was between Delaware and Virginia and Maryland. Guess what? That's why Washington, D.C. is in a swamp. It's in one of the most miserable places, but it's because no state owns that land. So no state gets an advantage. That's why you can't vote there. We did it on purpose. It's to end corruption in politics. Because the second that D.C. becomes a state, it becomes massively corrupt. It will be the hotbed of corruption in the United States. Absolutely. That's a given fact. Everyone knows that. Democrats don't care. They need extra votes. They need extra votes in the Senate. They need extra votes in the House of Representatives. They can't find them anywhere. They're at 33% approval rating amongst Democrats alone. Forget about the rest of the country. Democrats don't approve of Democrats right now. So they're desperate to get extra votes any way they can. If that means bringing illegal aliens into the country and count them as part of the population in the census, which is what Biden did, they will do that. If they can gerrymander like they do in California and New York and Illinois already, then they will do that. If they can make Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. states, they will do that. They don't care. They just want power. They just want power, and they know they don't have a leadership or a plan to justify the power. So they will do whatever it takes to force public into giving them power because they don't care. Democrats don't care about you. By the way, if anyone in the comments thinks, Mike, you just don't understand. Democrats love me. Fantastic. Show me the proof. I can show you all the ways they don't. But I'm happy to hear, if you think I'm wrong, I'm happy to hear that. So we know D.C. was never meant to be a state. D.C. was always meant to be controlled, run by the federal government. The federal government has failed. The mayor has failed for decades upon decades upon decades, all of them being Democrats. Democrat policies have failed. These are the facts. And now we finally have a president who says, law and order, we will fix this. And he's the bad guy. He's the bad guy saying, let's fix the problem. Let's lower the crime rate. Let's try and do something. No, John, you know what? Send me a link and I'll let you into the show. Matter of fact, give me a second, John. I'll getting a request. By the way, anyone who's in the Patreon, if you want to join on the show, send me an email and I will make sure that you can get in. Okay, I'll send you the link. You can join the conversation. So bear with me, John. Because I don't mind. I don't mind people joining me today. There, I just sent it to you, John. By the way, I did want to mention we had a comment earlier, by the way, and I missed it. Where is it? Happy Life. By the way, Happy Life, thank you for being here with us. Get better, Happy Life. I want to hear every time. I want to hear that you're getting healthier and healthier every day. That's what I want to hear from you. And I know there's a couple of comments here from Peace. And one of the things he's saying is, we'll reserve judgment to see how Trump does. My point is that he's at least trying to fix the problem. And he's being demonized for trying to fix the problem. Does that make sense? Democrats were more than happy. They were ecstatic to have 37,000 troops in Washington, D.C., spending $3.6 million a day for over 100 days of having troops in Washington, D.C. They're not against having federal troops in D.C. They did it. Nancy Pelosi, the Democrats, 2021 under Joe Biden, they had no problem federalizing troops, National Guard, and putting them in Washington, D.C. They don't have a problem with that. The fact that they're saying that now makes no sense to me because they don't have a problem with this. They did it before. They have a problem that Trump is doing it. That Trump is enforcing the laws that they passed. And that's the part we have to recognize and understand. That they're lying to us because it's political. They don't want to fix DC. They could have done it. In 2021, 2022, they had the National Guard in Washington, D.C. They could have cleaned up that city. They never tried. They didn't even try because they don't care. And we really have to recognize that as we're hearing all this rhetoric, because the rhetoric is distraction. And it's only meant to make us vote one way. Hey, Kintsugi. Kintsugi says, Mike, just dropping in. Thank you. But can you repost your PayPal? The link is broken. The link is broken to my PayPal? Yes, I will. I will figure out how to do that, and I will get that put up there in just a moment. And that's the thing. It's Trump is doing it. And that is the worst argument I've heard for pretty much anything. How dare that be the reason why they would do it? By the way, John, are you there?
Mike, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Mike, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great.
I was listening to the show, I was making dinner, and I just had to call in and talk about what's going on in DC and talk about some of the things I've been hearing lately. First off, I want to tell you why these liberals and these leftist politicians don't care and don't want the National Guard to be taking over. And it's because they have all private security forces. They don't care about the actual citizens because they all hire the same private security forces. So to them, they're thinking, well, DC is fine. DC is safe. And as someone who lived there, I can tell you it is not fine. It is a dump.
Okay, before we go further,
Yep.
I need to mention, for the members of our government, Congress, they have the Capitol Police, which are in all 50 states. That's their private police force. So they have a private security protecting every member of Congress already.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also people like Cori Bush, who spend $70,000 for her brother to provide security for her on top of that, which is paid for by taxpayers.
Yes.
And so when they say, because some of them do live in DC or in the surrounding area, and they say, well, I don't see any corruption. You've got Capitol Police and private police protecting you, and you live in some of the richest neighborhoods in DC. Of course you don't see any crime.
Yeah. And I'm not even talking about Capitol Police. I know a lot of politicians who have hired third-party companies and private contractors to protect them outside of even Capitol Police. Right? These are the same people who are saying, everything is fine. Trump can't do this. He's a fascist, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to be honest, I think it's because DC wants statehood so they can actually get the votes. I think these Democrats want it. That, and if he federalizes it, it kind of eliminates the argument, well, they should be a state because they're under federal control, in my opinion.
Well, they want it to be a state. I don't want it to be a state.
No, I agree with you. But I think that's part of the argument.
Correct. The Constitution was correct. It should never be a state.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think Dems understand that it is a very blue area. All the councilmen, every politician who's living, actually representing the DC area is far, far left. far, far left. So I think to them, well, if Trump federalizes the police force, that kind of eliminates the argument that we should become a state, and that loses us 2 potential representatives and 2 new U.S. senators if DC becomes a state. I think that's what the left is really saying. It's not about actually protecting the people. The left doesn't care about that. They care about gaining seats. That's all they care about here.
Well, it's sad. Now,
Mhm.
you've been in DC.
Yes.
Have I lied? Have I misrepresented anything about DC in what I've been talking about?
No, it's very dangerous. It was dangerous a couple of years ago when I lived there. I'll never forget. And keep in mind, DC is supposed to be the safest area. And even so, I saw a robbery on just going to work one time. I mean, this is supposed to be our nation's capital. It is not safe. And you get a lot of tourism, you get a lot of people. I would feel much safer going to DC because keep in mind, a lot of different schools go to DC, a lot of different groups and organizations go to DC. It would be a lot safer if it was federalized like Trump wants it to be. It is a safety concern.
I think,
100%.
and why wouldn't we want to give it a try? We
Yeah.
know what they've been doing has failed.
Yeah.
Mayor Bowser failed. Democrats failed. Their policies have failed. Why not do something different? And Trump does have the right by law, written by Democrats, voted for by Democrats, to do it. Not let him.
Yeah.
And am I wrong in saying it's because Orange Man bad? That's their reason. Orange Man bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's insane to me. That is their argument. And like I said, I lived there about 4 or 5 years ago. So a couple of years ago, because I did not feel comfortable living outside. Even the outside area was pretty rough when I went. And keep in mind how many people are going there on a yearly basis.
Hang on, because YouTube was just playing games and they kind of almost disconnected us for a second. You were probably talking. We didn't hear you. So the last minute or so of what you said, please pick back up.
Sure. I was just saying I lived there about 6 years ago, and I think I think they do get representation. They have a mayor, they have all sorts of representation. They have city council people. They have a lot of representation. They have a lot of say in government, and I don't think it's an issue of they feel the need for this. I just don't understand the statehood argument, never have. But I also think it's very selfish of these left wing politicians to only be thinking about, well, we need more seats. We need to pick up more seats. We need more seats. Therefore, the safety of everyone visiting DC should be on hold because Trump can't federalize it. That's a bad idea. It doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't.
Okay, let me ask that.
It's insanity, but that's what the modern Democrat Party has been because I think they know they're going to lose some seats coming up, so they want to try to gain as many seats as they can coming up.
Okay, let me ask you: is there the fact that there's 800 National Guard in Washington D.C.? Is that making you think Trump's an authoritarian? Does that mean that? Oh, I lost John for a second there. He may come back. We'll see. So they're trying to tell us that this means that Trump's going to be. Is he still there? Where is he? Mm-hmm. There you are. You're
Cut
back.
me out for a minute, Mike. Sorry about that. I couldn't hear you.
No problem. I was going to ask. So does the fact there's some 800 National Guard in DC this time, not the 37,000 that were there under the Democrats in 2021, 2022, but just 800 now under Trump, does that make you feel like Trump is an authoritarian? He's going to take over the government?
Can you repeat the question and cut out one more time for some reason?
Do you think Trump putting National Guard in DC? Okay, that's him. That may be Facebook or YouTube. It's not me. I did not cut him off.
We're gonna try this one more time, Mike. One more time.
Trying it again.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. What was your question here? 800 National Guard. That's the last I heard.
Right. Does that make you feel Trump is an authoritarian, that he's taking over America?
Absolutely not. And I'm shocked that it's that few of a number for that area. But it makes me feel safer. It absolutely does. I would feel more comfortable with 800 National Guard taking my girlfriend or kids or family to that area now than ever before, because of especially after living there for a while. I can say that it doesn't make me think Trump is an authoritarian. It's a low number, 800. I didn't realize that's how low he was sending. When they keep, and especially, I guess this shows what the media is hyping up. I thought it was 10,000, a couple thousand, but that's 800 is not a large amount at all.
No, it isn't a large amount. It could go, the number could increase theoretically, but I don't find it to be a problem.
No, absolutely not. And the jails in DC are federalized too. I mean, this is not a new concept. If the jails in DC are already federalized, why can't the police force be? And that's been for years.
Well, because Democrats don't talk about that.
Mhm.
They don't talk about they control the prisons, they control the laws there, that their policies have failed. They don't talk about that.
No.
It's always someone else's fault.
Mhm.
But it's their policy. Same thing when you say in New York, as an example, New York State, California, another one, Illinois, another one. If you have a problem in any of those states, you cannot blame Republicans or libertarians or third party. You can't. You know why? We don't control the government. The Democrats have controlled New York, California, Illinois, each of them for 60 years each. Republicans don't pass laws in these states. Libertarians, third party, they don't pass laws in these states. We don't have majorities in any part of the state legislature. It's not our problem. We didn't cause the problem. Only Democrats are the cause of the problem. But yet they demonize us as if, well, you're not, if you were just voting Democrat, they already voted you. You already have the majority. These are all your plans. These are all your policies.
Absolutely. I think you're right on the money, like always, Mike. That's what I love about your show. You're always right on the money.
Well, I try to be.
And there's another reason I called in, Mike, because I had an experience this week that I wanted to share with you, your audience, get their thoughts on it. Because this has never happened to me. I've always heard that the left has a bubble around them, right? They're kind of in an echo chamber. I had never seen it until this week. Never seen it until this week, and I want to get your chat's thoughts and your thoughts. I've had now two people this week, two different people, tell me to my face, wow, you're the only conservative I like. And my response has been, do you know any conservatives in person? Well, no.
Not that they know of.
No. But it just goes to show how out of touch, how bubbled they are. I know plenty of conservatives who are friends with liberals, but I don't know many liberals who are just straight liberals who are friends with conservatives. It's really weird. And it's just such a bubble. Outside of the online sphere, I asked them, outside of online and your Twitter arguments, because they know me as a person, how do you not know any other conservatives? Well, I just don't interact with them. I think that's part of the divide. I think the left is just so insular now. And I've always heard they were. And I've talked to a lot of liberals in my life. I just did not know to what extent it was. No, I actually don't know any conservatives in real life.
It's crazy to me that so many people believe the demonizing, very partisan, very political ideology being pushed by the mainstream news media, and they instantly deny. You'd be amazed how many times people go, Mike, you can't be a Republican. Why? You're black. I'm like, where's that in writing? Who
Yeah.
made that law? When did that become something I can't do? And yet I hear that all the time. And I hear, but you don't understand how evil the Republicans are. I'm like, I am a Republican. Are you telling me I'm evil? No, no, no. You're not evil. You just don't understand. Are you telling me I'm stupid? Well, no, Mike, you're not stupid. I know. I've talked to you. You're very intelligent. Okay, so what are you saying?
Yeah.
And in other words, this is what they've been told to say, but they don't expect anyone to have a response. They don't have an argument back. And that's when they have a problem. I August 19th, people are going to see there's a BronxNet Community TV. There's going to be, I was on the Backroom TV. Last week, I taped it last week, Wednesday. It'll come out on the 19th.
I've been very excited for it, by the way.
Yeah.
I've heard. I'm very excited for it.
Did you see the clip?
I saw the clip. It was great. I'm very excited.
Yeah. The left isn't, we were talking at that point about gerrymandering. He didn't have an answer.
No.
I had an answer about gerrymandering. He had no answer about gerrymandering. That's the left.
Yeah.
They can't fight back. They can just tell you how they feel. They can't fight. But this is hurting America.
Yeah.
Because again, talking about DC, telling me that Trump's an authoritarian doesn't fix DC. Telling me that Orange Man bad doesn't fix DC. Saying that the numbers aren't as bad as Trump says they are doesn't fix DC.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you just don't understand. I don't need to understand anything else. You're not fixing it. You're telling me why Trump is a bad guy. You're not telling me how to fix DC.
No. Absolutely. And I think, too, part of the problem on the left is they have boxed themselves into you can only think one way of being a liberal or a progressive. You have to follow this strict ideology. And when I look at your chat and I see tons of different people come in who consider themselves on the right, you see a lot of different thoughts, you see a lot of diversity of thought, and I just think the left is so boxed in. And they are so gun-ho. If they say you have to say Trump is bad, they all say Trump is bad. You say something on the right, they start to think about it a little more, I feel. And you start to get that diversity of thought. And I think that's part of the problem why the Democrat Party can't win, especially right now. It is either their way or the highway. And a lot of people who may not agree with all the things that the Democrats are saying are leaving the party because they're getting pushed out. And they've been slowly getting pushed out. Look at John Fetterman. I don't agree with Fetterman on 90% of things, but because he was with Israel, he got pushed out of the Democrat Party and the progressives kicked him out.
Well, they kick out everyone who doesn't do exactly whatever they're told to do. Fetterman is probably one of the bigger, best examples of that. That as he has healed from his stroke, he's taken on more centrist and right-leaning positions. He's still a Democrat. He's still left-leaning overall.
Absolutely.
But he does support more. He's more bipartisan than pretty much the entire party. And that's evil. That's a problem. They want to get rid of him because he's been bipartisan in a lot of his issues. And the things that Trump has done right, they hate.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of people on the right, I notice, will criticize Trump and call him out. There are people who are diehard supporters, but there are people who will call him out. You would have never seen that. You didn't see that under Joe Biden. You didn't see progressives call him out. They blindly followed. It is such a different atmosphere, and I think that's why Republicans and conservatives are so different, and they're so much more open-minded overall. There's a diversity of thought there that I don't think is with the progressives.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is entirely crazy when I listen to them. So let me ask you, because you were in DC, people were saying, we were asked a question by Peace Logic. I know
Yep.
Peace had to go to sleep. That's fine.
Mhm.
He said, what do people do who live there? How do they get representation? Now, you were there.
Mhm.
When you were there, you still voted in the state that whether it was New York or New Jersey or
Yep.
Arizona, wherever it was,
Yep.
you would still vote in that state. You do
Yeah.
like an absentee ballot.
Yep.
And am I wrong on that? Isn't
No,
that
you're
how you conduct it?
absolutely right. Not to mention, if you live in DC, you have city representatives. You still have representation to your local politics. And guess what? If you're living in that area, you have more access to these senior kind of national figures. So you're more likely, if you want to join a lobbying organization or do something citizen action wise, you do have a lot of say. If you, rather than living in these individual states, you do have a lot of say. You still
Well,
get representation.
well, yeah, you can always protest the White House. Their protest downtown. We're going to go
Yep.
downtown and protest. That's Washington. You're going in
Yeah.
front of the White House. You're
Yeah.
going to protest right there. You can do that. No one stops them. Now, when they
Mhm.
burn down the church across the street from the White House, which
Yeah.
the left has done, well,
Yes.
that's a different thing. That'll get you in trouble.
Hmm.
Well, might depends on who's president at the time, but supposedly it should get you in trouble. It didn't
Yeah.
get the left in trouble. It should have, but it didn't.
Yep.
But that's so they have representation. They have a voice, and for people who are there and not born and raised there, but people who are there from other states, you
Yeah.
vote from your other state.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of these people are staffers from other states, right? A lot of people who live in DC work for either the Senate or Congress or one of these, nonprofit groups from my personal experience. Because that's a big industry, obviously. That's the center of the capital. So you get a lot of representation that way. A lot of people are just coming in and not actually living as residents of DC, but because they work in the area for a congressman or senator, so you do get an absentee ballot.
Yeah.
That's a very common thing. And like I said, you still get councilmen. You still get a say in your politics if you register in DC. It's a
Now,
ridiculous argument, in my opinion, at least, that the
now
left shouts.
I know I am biased because I am a Republican. I am a
Mhm.
conservative Republican. I have run for elected office. So I am biased. I have never denied that, not even going to start.
Mhm.
But I cannot see. Now, when, how can I say this? When Trump put Marines in LA, I
Mhm.
had an issue. I made a point of it. I didn't think his idea was wrong with the National Guard. I thought it was wrong with the Marines because Marines are very different. They're
Mhm.
very aggressive
Very
because
fair.
that's what we're
Yes.
supposed to be, and that's fine.
Yes.
But there were riots going on. It wasn't under the control of the state of California, and members of the elected officials of California were actively using gangs as Gestapo to fight against the government in
Yeah.
enforcing the law, not new laws,
Yeah.
enforcing existing law. So I had no problem with Marines being there for that reason, and they have since been removed. Fine.
Mhm.
I have no problem with National Guard in DC to help remove the crime. I had a problem in 21 when they were just standing there to prevent the public from talking to their elected officials. That's
Yep.
what Democrats did. That's authoritarian. I
Yep.
can't talk to my representative. Why? Because there is a guy with a M60 standing in front of me with a gate and barbed concertina wire preventing me from going to see my congressman. That
Mhm.
is authoritarian. Saying,
Yep.
we've got a couple of soldiers who are going along with the police to stop carjackings and drug dealers. That's not stopping me from seeing my congressman. That's
Yep.
not destroying America. Am I
Right.
wrong in understanding it that way?
No, and throughout history, I mean, if you want to get historical, I mean, people used to be able to visit the president in the White House because he was elected by the people. Things have obviously changed, but being able to meet your representative face to face and getting that meeting is the right of the people. And by having National Guard standing in your way to do that is ridiculous. That absolutely is. And it's very different than what was done in California.
Trump
Very,
has
very
never
different.
stopped. Trump has never stopped anyone from voting. He's never
Nope.
stopped anyone from voicing their opinions or protesting. He hasn't stopped anyone. Let me correct that. He hasn't stopped any American citizen from voting. He hasn't
Yes.
stopped any American citizen from protesting. And he hasn't stopped any American citizen from being able to see their representatives in Washington, D.C. He's never stopped. He's enforced the law. And there are illegal aliens that don't have access to everything as they used to, but they're criminals, and these aren't things they have rights to.
Yeah.
But he hasn't stopped an American citizen, not one.
Yeah. You're right on the money. Trump is for the people. And notice any of his actions, like you said, aren't stopping American citizens. It's not what he's doing. He is for the people. He really is. Whether you agree with him or not, he allows you to vote. And remember, this is what the left said, he would take away everyone's right to vote. Oh my gosh, he was going to turn this place into a fascist country, but he has not done anything to stop voting for American citizens whatsoever.
Well, speaking about American citizens and voting, did you hear about what's happening in Texas?
With the gerrymandering issue where Democrats left the state?
They left the state. They're coming back.
Yes.
Do you know why they're coming back?
I did not hear why they're coming back. I did hear they were coming back.
Because they don't have to vote. Okay. So this is according to ABC News. And that came out yesterday evening. So most people didn't hear about this. They are not publicizing this. They're being very quiet about that. But yesterday, because they're not in regular session, the state legislature of Texas, they're on vacation.
Yeah.
So since they're on vacation right now, kind of like in New York, same thing, California, a lot of states are in, they're not in session at this moment. That's normal. Most states have that time. So he had a special session so that they could take the money from the federal government for the like FEMA money and take that for the flash flood victims and give it to them. They can't give them the money without approving it at the state level. That takes a vote, which Democrats ran away from.
Yeah.
So the flood victims are suffering, actively suffering. They are harming American citizens by not voting, because at the same time they would vote for that, they would also vote for the redistricting, which Democrats call gerrymandering. And fine, let's call it gerrymandering. So does California, New York. They don't complain about it when it's for them.
Yeah.
Shut up when it's not for you. It's not, that's not the end of the world. Black people can still vote. Hispanics can still vote. It's just, you're going to be in a different district. No one cares. No one cares. I was in the New York 22. Then it became the New York 19. Did I stop being a Republican? No. Did you stop being a Republican?
No.
Okay. So it doesn't matter to the average person. It's not stopping anyone from voting. It's not harming anyone's voting rights. So that they should go back. So now that it's no longer, so there's a time limit. They get 30 days for the special session because they're not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
They get 30 days so they can vote and do something specific, like give money to the flood victims who are desperately in need of it, because their house has been destroyed, their car is gone, their family is dead, things like that, little things like that they need help with.
Yeah.
Now that it's not on the table, the Texas Democrats are going to go back. And they also had their funding cut. A judge cut off all the funding from Beto O'Rourke, helping to fund these people to be in New York and Chicago and California. He cut their funding so they can't get any extra money. So they're out of money and they don't have to do the vote. So now that all of their accountability, all of their responsibilities are gone, they're going to go back.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. If I know the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, is running for U.S. Senate, if Ken Paxton really wants to show that he's a conservative, he should be charging these people. They were paid to leave the state and not vote. They were paid and influenced for their vote. To me, that's bribery, flat out. You are being paid to not vote. You are being bribed to vote a certain way. If Ken
Mhm.
Paxton is very serious about his election, and people in Texas should be thinking about this, he should be charging these people because it is criminal. Even taking the bribery stuff away, the fact that Dems are putting FEMA relief funds on the table because they don't like how a map looks is ridiculous.
You know, they'll get past the vote.
Yeah,
If they have, you know what? My thing is, if you have a good enough candidate, it doesn't matter.
exactly.
It doesn't matter. It
Yep.
is if you're good enough, you don't need to pack the room full of Democrats or Republicans or
Yeah.
third party. You don't need that if you're good and you have a good plan. If you
Mhm.
suck, then yeah, you need every advantage you've got to get.
Absolutely. A good campaign is a good campaign at the end of the day. If you can run a good race, then you can win it. It doesn't matter what the district looks like or shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's playing politics. And like I said, if and I know people have their eye on Ken Paxton. If you live in Texas, you should be questioning: is Ken Paxton going to actually stand up for the people of Texas and charge these Democrats who ran away for money and are only coming back because they don't get money anymore?
They're not getting money more and they have no responsibility. They
Yeah.
don't have to take the vote, which doesn't help. Now, eventually, there's going to be another session,
Hmm.
and because they still got to get the money to the flood victims.
Yeah.
So there's going to be another session, and the question is, are they going to run away again? Are they going to run away again? And I think they'll run away again because they're cowards, because they are selfish,
Hmm.
because they are concerned about political ambition and not the people.
Hmm.
They are evil. And
Yeah.
if any Democrat that disagrees with me, no problem. I will put you on the show. You can argue with me all day. I'll give you 12 hours. I have no problem. You know me, John. I will
Yes.
give people 12 hours.
Mike will talk to you for as long as you want if you disagree, and that's what I love about the show, and that's why I always call in. Even if I disagree with Mike, he'll let me talk, and he'll let you talk for sure. And like I said, these people should be charged for this or removed from office because they are not representing the people. They are running away from their districts.
They broke their oath of office.
Yeah.
Every person who is in elected office takes an oath to serve the public, not the other way around.
Yeah.
They broke their oath. They ran away, did not take the vote to give the money to the victims.
Mhm.
It should be a crime.
Yeah.
I think it is a crime.
Greg
And
Abbott has made the argument it is a crime. It's up to Ken Paxton, who is the current attorney general, to do something. And like I said, I know he wants to win his election. And I think it would be great show of faith to the voters. And you should be asking him if you're in Texas. Be a great show of faith to the voters that he cares about his people by holding those who ran away from their home state accountable and who represent a group of people, a large group of people should be accountable for running away and saying, no, 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 we're going to hold flood funding hostage because we don't like the way the map looks. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
that is ridiculous. By the way, any of my Patreon members, remember, if you send me a message, you too can join the stream. I can have multiple people on at once. I think up to like 5 or so. So Patreon members can join in. Just send me a message and I will add you if you wish. If there's an elected official, an elected Democrat from anywhere in the country, local, state, or federal, contact me and send me a DM on like X. I will add you.
Yep.
I have no problem. I'll confirm who you are, of course, but I'll add you in a heartbeat. I have no problem.
Now, Mike, I have a quick question
Go
for
ahead.
you. You said you have a Patreon. How much does that Patreon cost by any chance to join?
I do have a Patreon. It's $1.50 a month.
Only $1.50 a month.
There's only one category. I know everyone does categories like different levels.
Yep, different tiers.
I don't do that.
Yep.
I have one tier, $1.50. That's it. Because if I were to get, I believe I should be able to have an audience of 50,000. There's over 113 million people who use YouTube as an example. Just that audience alone, with over 1 billion hours of YouTube watched every day. I don't think it's crazy to say I could get an audience of 50,000. I'm smart enough. I have enough knowledge. I think I'm good looking enough. I should be able to get, I'll be happy with 5,000. I could get to 50,000 if I wasn't suppressed. So,
Yeah.
and if I was getting $1.50 from half those people, I have actual income. I can live.
And that's less than a bottle of Pepsi, Mike.
Yes.
That is less than a bottle of Pepsi at this point.
Bottle
with inflation.
Is like $2.
Yeah. So you are getting that much. And so I, as a Patreon member, I always support it. I always give it a shout out when I'm on the show because Mike doesn't like to plug it as much as I do.
I don't, but I like
I'll be the bad guy.
Know why? Why is it only $1.50? Because I believe in, if I have, I always imagine one day I'll have 50,000 people, and $1.50 from 25,000 people gives me a low income that will be more than I'm making now, and I'll be able to survive. I don't have to be rich.
Yeah. So I just wanted to thank you, Mike, for allowing me to come on the show. I know it was last minute, and I know I messaged you last minute, but you were talking about DC, and I absolutely want to chime in as someone who lived there for a little while and who lived in that area. Technically, I lived a little bit outside, but I traveled to DC pretty much every day for work. So if you want to get technical. But I wanted to chime in, and I also want to tell that weird story, like I said, about the liberal bubble and where it's at still.
Yeah. No.
You don't hear that. I have never, 2 times in the same week.
I know. But these are the things we need to talk about. And these are the things that Democrats don't want us to talk about. These are the things the mainstream media doesn't want us to talk about. And as I've always said on this channel, you don't have to agree with me. Yeah. But we should be able to have the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I tune into your show still so much, because even though me and you might not agree on everything, Mike.
True.
Certainly not. But you're always willing to have the conversation. You'll always have people on. And it's quite interesting as well when a liberal finally decides to show up and stop being afraid and confront you.
It's not like I beat up on them. It's not like, I don't know. I liberals never tell me, but they always seem to be afraid. I'm like, it's not like I'm going to curse you out and scream at you or treat you bad. It's
well, Mike, it's like, how would I describe it? It's like a JV wrestler, a junior varsity middle school wrestler, entering the ring with Conor McGregor. I mean, that's how I put it. It's just such a different weight class. I mean, you know your stuff. You have it right there. Like, not right in front of you, but you know your stuff. And I think it throws a lot of people off guard. They're not ready for that. They're not ready for facts.
Wait until the 19th. I think you will find it interesting because people don't realize, like, no, I actually walk into these when I get invited to other locations. No one ever tells me what the question's going to be, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But it's always interesting because a lot of people aren't ready for, like, no, I do actually remember these things. I do actually know what's happening, like chapter and verse, and they get very surprised by the answers because it's not necessarily what they think it's going to be. It's not like parroting the party line. I don't do that. No, you come with your own facts. And like I said, you are like the Conor McGregor of the debate world. You are an intellectual MMA fighter, if you will. I like that. Intellectual MMA. I like that. That's exactly what you are compared to some of these people. Because I've seen you debate a couple liberals, and man, they are not ready for it. They are not ready. It is a knockout within the first couple seconds usually. But thank you for having me on again, Mike. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope the rest of the show goes well. Well, thank you. We got a little bit more to go. So that was one of the Patreon members. John, and I'm happy that he was able to come on. Any of the Patreon members are more than welcome to jump on. Again, just send me a link and or a request, and I'll be happy to send out the link to you and have you on, and we'll talk. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Hang on one second. I'm actually checking. Did I get any? Who just sent me a message? Sorry, folks. Give me 1 second. Okay, I gotta answer that later. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to catch up. I got a couple messages. Okay. Tomorrow I'm going to be in Staten Island. I may be covering an event in Staten Island tomorrow. So I just got some updates about the event, what time it's going to be, where I need to be. So, because we try to travel across wherever I am, I always try to travel as much as possible, cover a lot of news. That's why I've covered Curtis Sliwa 4 times, because no one else is talking about Curtis Sliwa. You would think there's only 3 people in the race. You would think of Mondami and Cuomo and Adams. It's not. There's 2 more people, Jim Walden, Curtis Sliwa. There's 5 people in the race. News media has already made their decision about who they want to promote, and it's only Democrats. So they don't tell you about anyone else. I do. And I think, whether you like Curtis Sliwa or not, whether you like Jim Walden or not, they do have good ideas. I think it's very important to talk about the lithium-ion battery plants in residential neighborhoods. Cuomo won't talk about it. Eric Adams won't talk about it. Zoran Mondami won't talk about that. Curtis Sliwa will, and he is, because it's important. And I know that, they'll get one of the Democrats in, like Zoran or one of the others, and they'll get in and they won't talk about the battery, lithium-ion battery plants. They'll build them in the residential communities, 17 of them, in the Bronx, in Queens, in Brooklyn. They're going to build them. They're going to be next to schools, because the one in the Bronx is next to a school. It will burn at some point. Those kids will be inhaling toxic fumes, cancerous toxic fumes, because these things happen. They've been burning across the country. And then the Democrats will be like, oh my God, this is such a disaster. How did this happen? Blame some Republican. And it's their fault. They allowed this to happen. And I'm at least making sure the argument is there. Whether you agree, you want to vote for Mondami because free stuff, fantastic. You're not going to get any of that free stuff. Everything that Zoran Mondami has offered the public is a failed policy from somewhere else in the country. He has nothing new. Zoran Mondami is a parrot. Everything he is offering, everything he is saying has been said by a socialist previously, has been promised by a socialist program previously. They have always failed. Every single time. There is, go to Kansas, the free buses failed. The government-run stores failed. Absolute horrible failure. Food rotting in the store, empty shelves. Prices are not saving people money. It's as bad as you could imagine it being. It is exactly like what I saw when I lived in Moscow in Russia in 91. It's exactly the same, because socialism. And it didn't work. 3 years that program ran, it failed massively, cost the taxpayers millions, tens of millions. It will cost hundreds of millions, because this is New York City and union workers. It will cost us hundreds of millions of dollars. It will completely fail. And then they'll blame some Republican. The Republicans didn't toss enough money at it. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work. And nothing that Mondami has offered is new. He's offering the minimum wage, which has failed across the country. Everywhere they have done the $15 an hour minimum wage or more, it has failed. Failed in California. They went and got $20 an hour minimum wage. 20,000 people lost their job, as was predicted. Exactly what we thought would happen. Everybody who does the math, everyone who knows anything about the economics, everyone has come out with those numbers and said there were going to people, you have tens of thousands of people fired, 20,000 more. Now you hear Cuomo's offering 20 and Mondami's offering $30 an hour for a minimum wage. We're going to get the same result that California got. We're going to have 20, 30,000, 50,000 people who are going to lose their job. That we're going to see people who have their hours cut. It's not going to make poor people any richer. In fact, it will increase the amount of poverty. It will increase the number of people who are dependent on the government. It will increase the cost of everything. It will raise up prices, and no one will be better off for it. No one. Just like with $15 an hour, just like $20 an hour, everywhere in the country that it has been done. In Washington State, Oregon, Colorado, Austin, and also in New York City. It's already been done. New York State, too. It's already been done. Failed everywhere. Everywhere it's been done, it has failed. And now he's going to do it. And people are voting for him because I'm going to get $30 an hour. One, no, you're not. No, you're not. And two, you're not worth it. Really. If you're part of the 3% maximum in any maximum year, most people don't know this. According to the government, to the data, 1.3% of the nation on any given year, the average, 1.3% of all workers get minimum wage. In an incredibly bad economy, when things are going absolutely wrong, 3% of the entire country gets minimum wage. 3%. Not 30%, not 30 million people. Don't believe any of those lies. They love to hype it up. You notice they don't actually ever tell you. AOC and Ilhan Omar, Zoran Mondami, they don't give you numbers. How many people will this affect? Because the number is minuscule. We're talking about thousands of people, not tens of thousands, thousands of people in New York City. It's about 1.3% of all workers, 3% in a big year. We want to round it up, 5% of the working population. And everyone suffers because of that. You don't have to believe me. Go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They will give you the numbers. That's where I get my number from. And if you don't want that, you can go to the St. Louis Fed, the Federal Reserve. They will confirm the number. These are federal numbers proven for decades. This is why Democrats don't quote numbers to you. They won't quote the data. They never quote the data. Why? Because the data proves them wrong every single time. Mondami won't quote data to you. Why? Because it proves him wrong every time. He won't talk about Kansas and how everything that he's offering failed in Kansas already. We know it won't work because it didn't work in Kansas. And New York has more regulation. New York has more unions. New York has more price restrictions, more taxes than Kansas does. So if it didn't work in Kansas, it's not going to work in New York City. He knows it. I know it. But he's a socialist, so he doesn't care. And Democrats don't care because free stuff makes people vote for it. And all they care about is, again, it's the same as the Texas Democrats. They're selfish. They don't care about you. They care about power. They just want to have more power. Again, any Democrat that disagrees with me on this, please tell me how I'm wrong. Please explain to me how I am wrong. Don't tell me, Mike, you just don't understand. Yeah. You say that all the time. I'm giving you exact data. I am quoting locations and times and programs. Tell me, how am I wrong? Did the programs that Zoran Mondami is offering, were they done in other states? Yes. Did they fail in other states? Yes. Why do you think it's going to work in New York City? Because, socialism? Yeah, there's no answer. It's stupid. It's like, why do you think Trump's an authoritarian? Because orange man bad. That's a stupid reason. That is a stupid answer. Why are you supporting the Texas Democrats? Because redistricting is evil. It wasn't evil in New York. It wasn't evil in Illinois. It's not evil in Oregon or Washington State or California or Maryland. So why is it evil now? Republicans? Well, that's a stupid argument. They don't want you to know any details. Oh, yeah. Mandami and his apartment. Yeah, well, Mandami is rich. You ever notice all the socialists in America? They've never, you ever notice they've never lived in a socialist country. Beyonce, Jay-Z, they visited Cuba. They didn't live in Cuba. Bernie Sanders had a honeymoon in Moscow. He didn't live there. Zoran Mandami doesn't live in socialism. He lives in America. AOC, the Democratic Socialists of America, they don't live in socialist nations. They live in America. You ever wonder why? They're telling you how great socialism is, but they've never lived in socialism. They've never had to be a regular person in socialism. I have. I've been the regular guy in Moscow in 91 during socialism. And I can tell you what the results are. And I can point out tens of thousands of other individuals who've all come from socialist countries around the world, and they all have the same story. And there's a reason why they left their socialist country to come to America, the capitalist country, because we're not socialist. Isn't that interesting? You never hear about all these super great rich people, even the Hollywood types. Rosie O'Donnell didn't leave America to go to Russia. She went to Ireland. That's a capitalist country. She didn't go to a socialist country. She could have gone to Venezuela. She could have gone to Cuba. She could have gone to North Korea. She could have gone to Russia or China. She didn't. Gee, I wonder why. She went to Ireland, another capitalist country. What an odd thing to do. This tells you it's the little details that tell you the truth about the situation that the news media wants to gloss over. They don't want you to think. This is why the news cycle is 3 days. It's a 3-day news cycle so that you don't think about the details. So you don't start wondering, wait a minute, that doesn't quite make sense. Wait a minute. Let's slow down. Don't slow down. Next story. We got the next story. We got to go on to the next thing. Don't think. Just keep going. Because if you stop and you think about it, you realize this is evil and stupid and makes no sense. Speaking about things that are evil, stupid, and make no sense, I wanted to talk a little bit about, because we've talked a little bit about New York, and I can talk more about Mandami if people want. Actually, before I get to one of the key things about Mandami that is very important to keep in mind, every party is freaking out. Nobody wants Mandami to win. The public, poor people in New York, people who are middle class and below in New York, probably want Mandami to win. Why? Free stuff. They want lower costs for their housing. They won't get it, but they want that. They want lower cost in healthcare. They want it, they won't get it, but that's what they want. They want higher prices in their wages. They want to make more money per hour. They won't get it, but that's what they want. They want less inflation. They won't get it, but that's what they want. I understand. These are the things we all want. And the only person who's offering that, who's promising that he's going to give you all of that, and knows that it's complete crap. If Mandami is smart at all, I understand. He's a true believer, but he's smart enough to know can't do any of that. He's making empty promises. That's just a fact. But he's doing it anyway. And everyone else, every other party across the country, they are freaking out. I can tell you that sources that I am aware of, Republicans are freaking out, libertarians, Green Party, third party groups, even mainstream Democrats are all freaking out. I know people in all of those different organizations, and I know that they've all confirmed they're all talking about the same thing. And sadly, many of them, the majority of them, are currently talking about trying to kick out Curtis Sliwa. Not because Curtis Sliwa is a Republican. That's not the reason to kick him out. Curtis Sliwa is willing to talk about the issues. That's not the reason to kick him out. They think that if they kick out Curtis Sliwa and put all their money behind Eric Adams will win. Why? Eric Adams is black, he's a Democrat, and he's in office. And incumbents tend to win in almost every election, no matter what kind of election it is. The incumbent always has an advantage, always. And he's black, that's an advantage. And he's a Democrat. So that combination, they think, will win if Curtis Sliwa isn't in the race. And they are absolutely adamant, I've heard the arguments, that as long as if Cuomo drops out and Adams is in there and Sliwa steps out, Adams can absolutely win. That's what they keep saying. I don't think that's true. But they want that to be true. And they want to throw their money. They're desperate to throw the money at Adams. They have no confidence in Cuomo because he's corrupt as hell. And they don't think he's going to win. Because everyone remembers that Andrew Cuomo is corrupt as hell. And he killed 16,000 people. And no one has forgotten any of that. And so he's not going to win. So they think Adams is their only choice. And they just want to pile the money on him because the news media doesn't talk about anyone else except Democrats. In New York races, they only talk about Democrats. They never talk about Republicans. Republicans don't exist. Republicans are in all the races. They never talk about them. Third party are in many of the races, like Jim Walden as an example. They're in the races. They never get any attention by the mainstream news media in New York. That's the problem. You want to know why everything is failing? Because the news media doesn't acknowledge, doesn't tell the public there's actually another voice, that there is another option. There is another choice. Whether or not you take it is up to you. You're an individual. You're smart. You're an adult. You've had experiences in your life. You can make the decision for yourself as long as you have the information. They don't want to give you the information. They have made the decision for you. And now they just want you to obey. That is authoritarian. Trump isn't doing that. Democrats are. It's just that simple. Trump isn't denying you information. He isn't leading you down a road that only leads to one answer. Democrats are. That's just a fact. It is an empirical fact. So I wanted to cover that. But speaking about Donald Trump, speaking about authoritarianism, speaking about conflict, let's deal with what's going on. Donald Trump, Friday, will be talking with Vladimir Putin about the Ukraine-Russia war. And this is something that gets attention and goes back and forth. Gets some attention for a while, then no one cares about it. Then it gets attention and no one cares about it. It's back and forth. Well, here's the thing. Donald Trump, so far, has been involved with seven peace deals around the world. He has successfully created peace deals that have stopped fighting in 4 out of 7 situations around the world. That's in Europe, that's in Southeast Asia, that's in the Middle East, that's in Africa. That is enormous. He gets no credit for any of that. Every other president would get enormous credit for this. And this would be something that you would get nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for. because that's stabilizing the world. That's making the world better. Whether or not you like him has nothing to do with it. He is being effective. He is creating more peace in the world, whether you're living in Rwanda or the Congo, or you're in the Middle East, or you're in Southeast Asia, like Thailand, or in Cambodia, Albania. It's happening. But now we're looking at Russia, Ukraine. And the left loves to say, well, Donald Trump, he failed. His promise failed. His promise failed. How? Well, he promised that he would fix this in a day. He was assuming that people would actually listen. But let's really understand, because on Friday, he's going to talk to Russia. And right now, the Democrats are like, it can't work because Zelensky, the Ukraine, they're not there. They have to be there. You're hearing from Europe. Zelensky, the Ukraine, they have to be in that conversation. No, they don't. No, they don't. And they really shouldn't be. Why? How can you say that, Mike? Don't you want there to be peace? You just like Putin. No, I don't. Actually, I know more about Putin than most Americans. I lived in Moscow in 91 for a year and a half. I've seen what the KGB did to people. That was before the FSB. I saw what was happening out there. I remember when they had the coup attempt and there were members of the KGB going around getting ready to herd all of the expatriates, people from other nations, and getting ready to put them into gulags. I remember that. I know when we had to figure out how to plan with all the various embassies, like the German embassy, the Australian embassy, and the American embassy, to try and figure out how to get out of that country on the last planes out. Yeah, I lived through that. I'm not a fan of Putin at all. So, but I am a realist. And I understand Putin is winning. The media hates to say this. They don't want you to realize this. Putin's winning. This is a war of attrition. And Russia has more fighters. They have more resources. They have more people. They can keep fighting this war. It's just like with World War II. Russia won because it was a war of attrition. They will win over time. Give them enough time, they will win. That's just a fact. And Ukraine doesn't have virtually or relatively unlimited supplies of young men to keep fighting for them. They don't have it. They've lost so many young men, the Ukrainian people may not exist. If the war ended tomorrow and it was completely peaceful, there may not be enough Ukrainian men to continue the Ukrainian line without having to have immigrants come into the nation to bolster their population. It is unsustainable. That's how many men have died. So this is a war of attrition. And in a war of attrition, Russia wins. And they have been winning. And Trump is talking about, this isn't about land swaps. The news media wants to make it sound like, well, Trump is trying to do something like Nigel in the 1930s. It's a land swap. You're trading freedom for land. No, you're not. That is a lie. This isn't like Neville Chamberlain in the 1930s with England trying to appease the Nazis. It's not. Russia already had the war. They've already been doing the fighting. Russia already took over land. They have already conquered a bunch of the land. They have control of the east of Ukraine and the south and the Crimea. So the argument right now is stop taking more. The longer they fight, the more land that Russia will take and has been taking. What Trump is trying to do and what the world should be agreeing on, including the Ukraine, is don't take any more. You've won. You won everything that you wanted. You've got the fertilizer, you got the farmland, you've got uranium and some of the heavy metals. Fantastic. You have access to the Black Sea. You have a continuous control from east to the south of Ukraine, so you can get access to the port. Everything that Russia wanted, they got. Don't take any more. That's the argument. That is the peace deal. Don't take more. Hold what you got, you keep. You don't take more, because that's what they conquered. Germany, France, European Union, Zelensky, Ukraine, England are trying to say, no. Even though Russia won, even though Russia beat everyone and took this land, give it back. They're not going to do that. That's not how you get peace. That's why Trump hasn't resolved this already, like he did with India, Pakistan, like he did with Thailand and Cambodia, like he did with Armenia and Azerbaijan. Because Russia already took the land. They're not going to suddenly go, well, we'll give it all away. They've already committed that. They already paid for it in blood and tanks and sweat and oil. They paid for this. They own it. That's how countries for millennia, how do you expand your country? You conquer. And Russia conquered. It's theirs now. You may not like that. It may not be fun, but that's the truth of the world. They won. They own it. It's theirs. What we want to do is tell them, great, now stop. Don't take more. That's the argument. That's not a land swap. You're not exchanging land for freedom. You're saying, keep the land you already took. You already got it. You already have control of it. You're not losing control of it. Keep what you have. Stop taking more. That is the true argument. Europe doesn't want to admit that because Europe wants you to think that they are still great. They want you to think it's still the 17 or 1800s, that Prussia, Germany, France, England, that they're still superpowers in the world. They're not. Newsflash for all of Europe. You're not you're barely first world nations. Barely. You can't defend. You're not superpowers. If it weren't for the United States, you couldn't defend yourselves. And that's why they've been screaming about, oh, we got to put 5% into NATO. Oh, we can't afford that, because we've been covering you. The United States covers for them for everything. We have 80% of all the troops in NATO are American. We've been paying for it all. We've been doing it all. You can't tell me you're a superpower when you can't even defend your own nation. And they can't. And now they're trying to tell, oh, no, we'll decide the terms of, we will decide how Russia and Ukraine will. No, you won't. That's why Putin didn't talk to the EU. Macron has offered dozens of policies to say, I can resolve this. Putin said, I don't care. Didn't talk to him. So it's interesting to me that the media is trying to portray this in the way that they are. Because again, Orange Man must be bad. Must be bad. And so they have to make you think Trump is a failure. International policy, it has failed. There was no international policy under Biden. They said it was brilliant. Kamala went to other countries, and U.S. relations with those foreign countries got worse everywhere Kamala Harris went. That is a fact. Again, that's not an opinion. We've covered it on the Sunday live stream. We have dozens of articles showing how U.S. relations got worse, like in South Korea, when she's wiping her hand after shaking the hand of the president of South Korea, President Moon, insulting all of the people of South Korea. U.S. relations with South Korea went downhill when she did that. She insulted an entire culture of people. Yeah, but Trump is bad. He's bad for international politics. 7 peace deals. 4 of them have actually stuck. Think about that. He's successfully making more peace in the world. He's making more stability in the world. But he's the bad guy. Biden got us into Biden allowed Russia to go into the Ukraine. That's why we have that war. Biden allowed the Taliban to take over Afghanistan. That's why women are being oppressed in there right now. That's why gays are being oppressed there right now. ISIS was released because of Joe Biden, and they went into Central Africa, and that's why Central Africa, like the Sudan and Burkina Faso, are having civil wars right now because of Joe Biden. But Biden was a good guy. Trump hasn't done any of that. In fact, he's done the exact opposite, and he's the orange man bad. Does that make sense to you? Why are you being told a lie? Because you should vote Democrat. Because they want you to maintain the power of Democrats. Because they can't tell you the truth. Because if they told you the truth, you may not like it, and you also may not vote Democrat. The truth is, this isn't a land deal of switching land for freedom. We're not buying off. And the peace deal that's being offered isn't buying off Russia. It's letting Russia keep what they've already conquered. It's stopping them from going further. That's the best deal that the Ukraine can get. But as long as Europe, as long as England with Keir Starmer, an insane leftist, as long as Democrats in the United States keep telling Zelensky and the Ukrainian people, no, keep fighting. You will win. We will back you. They're going to lose. They will lose everything. It's just a matter of time. We got to stop telling them this lie. It's not helping Zelensky. Zelensky's like, we're going to win and we're going to get it all back. No, the hell you're not. I wish you could. You're not strong enough. You don't have enough people. You don't have enough weapons. Europe can't provide you with enough ammunition. You cannot win this long term. That's just the truth. Unless all of Europe and the United States were to go into the Ukraine with troops on the ground right now, that would be the only way that would turn around. And Americans don't want U.S. soldiers on the ground in the Ukraine. We have no reason to put our troops on the ground in the Ukraine. It's not worth it to us. And it shouldn't be. So the only other answer is let Russia keep what they have and not take more. And if the media were to be honest and say that's the only option on the table that works, that stops the dying. If they actually were to be honest about that and gave any credit to President Trump for getting Putin to even consider that, because Putin has been on the I'll just take it all. That's been his mentality. Putin's like, I'll just take it all. It'll take whatever, 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. I'll take it all. Got the time, got the weapons, got the people. I'll just take the time and take it all. And he's been fighting a war with that mentality, because the longer a fight goes on, the more Russia wins. So he doesn't care. But he's willing to negotiate with Trump to just keep what he has. We should be supporting Trump on that. If you want to see the war end, you need to support Trump, not Zelensky, not Europe. And that's not because you want to support Putin. It's because you want to keep the Ukrainians alive. That's the truth of it. Anyone who tells you something otherwise is lying to you. They don't understand what the hell's going on. They're not being honest about what's happening there. Oh, we're going to give them minerals. They already have them. We're not giving minerals to Russia. They already took over the land where much of the minerals already are. That's why they invaded. For the uranium and heavy metals, the fertilizer, and the farmland. That was always why Russia went in there. That has been why they have been fighting over that land for the last 700 years. This isn't new. This isn't a new fight. And they went in for that reason. We're not giving them a mineral deal. We're not giving them land. We're telling them just don't take more. Isn't that a smart thing to fight for? Isn't that the best deal we can do? Because your other option is, well, Ukraine will win. No, that's a delusion. You're being delusional. But no one in the media wants to say that. No one in the media is willing to say that. I'm like the only pundit that will actually say this because it's the truth. Everyone else will tell you, well, no, it's about Putin and Trump loves Putin and Putin loves Trump. No, it's not. Got nothing to do with that. Oh, Zelensky's going to win and it's just a matter of Europe coming together. No, it's not. That's a lie. Those are all lies. Grace says, thanks to Obama and Biden, Putin is winning. True. Demonstrably true. That's a fact. Joel had said, and Joel, by the way, thank you, Joel and Grace, for joining us along with Sam Fish. Thank you for joining us here. Joel says, I live in a small village, population's around 2,000 near Albany. Yes, New York has many small towns throughout upstate New York. It's not just New York, Albany, Syracuse, Rochester. Oh, that's all of New York. No, there's many, many, many towns throughout upstate New York. No one ever really thinks about it like that, but there are. And he goes, they are having another No Kings protest tomorrow. About 40 people show up to these things. It's ridiculous to me. The No Kings protest, which is a paid event, those protesters are paid for. We've seen that with the national, at least I should say, the national movement that got all the attention the first time. That was paid for. Those protesters were paid for. It's not real. That's why there's been, on July 4th, they did another No Kings protest. No one showed up. Why? They weren't paying for it. Now that there's no U.S. aid money going on out there, remarkably, all the protests, the numbers of people shrank. It's kind of odd. No money going to the NGOs. The United States government isn't paying for these other organizations. And all of a sudden, all the protests across America from the left have either disappeared or shrank significantly. Isn't that curious? Is it correlation? Maybe. Is it fact? Maybe. Don't know. Can't be sure yet. But it does seem to be coincidental at the very least that cut 83% of the funding of U.S. aid, all of the protests shrink, if not disappear. What an odd timing. And these No King protests are useless. No one supports this. That's like people saying, oh, well, I support Marvel. No one does. Or the girl boss movies. No one supports that. Or woke ideology. No one supports that. Yeah, there's a handful of people who are super left, and they're like, oh, yeah, ideology. It's about power, and they have no power. They're a splinter of the Democrats with very, very big mouths, and no one supports them because they're crazy lunatics. The No Kings people are the same people who tell you that Sydney Sweeney is a racist because she has good genes. That makes no sense. All right. Oh, wow. It's a little bit later than I thought. We've been on for 2 hours. I don't know. Maybe I'll go another 15 minutes or so. First of all, if you've made it this far on Wednesday, I appreciate you taking some time in the middle of your week to be with me, to hear this somewhat more informal show than what we normally do on Sunday or some of the videos we do throughout the week. So I thank you for taking some time to be here with me. Normally, I'm with the panel of the Liberty First Foundation, but we're all working Joes, and they weren't able to make it. But I wanted to spend time with you guys to talk about some of my thoughts about some of these issues. And I love the fact that you guys are making the comments from Joel, from Grace, from Sam Fish, from Peace Logic, and Sugi was with us as well. John came on from the Patreon and he joined us. I appreciate you guys. You are wonderful people. And I appreciate the time you spent. Whether you've been here for 5 minutes or for the whole 2 hours, I appreciate you. You are why I do this. Of course, I also ask you for your help. Let me reach more people. I need to get some money. We have a puppy fund going on. I need to get $3,500 to get my dog we have to do an ultrasound on his heart, his liver. It's $3,500. So please like, share, subscribe. Let's get this out to more people. Let them join my Patreon for $1.50 a month. You can go over to my PayPal and you can donate if you want to do it there. Or you can do a Rumble chat, a SuperChat, or a RumbleRant. You don't have to. By the way, you don't have to make donations to anything. You don't have to support me through cash. That's extra. That's a bonus. I appreciate it. It helps. But you can just like, share, and subscribe. And that'll be just as good. I get to 5,000 subscribers. Maybe I get some kind of sponsor. Covers my bills. I'm happy. I get to take care of my dog. I'm happy either way. I want to get to 5,000 subscribers. I'm not trying to be greedy. I don't need to dominate the airwaves. I'm not, what is it? Oh God. Howard Stern. That's it. Howard Stern. I'm not Howard Stern. I don't need to be the king of all media. I don't have to be the king of podcasts. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just trying to have a conversation with people. I'm just trying to reach more people. And I'm fighting against YouTube and the social media giants because I'm a black Republican and I'm not supposed to exist. I actually pay attention to the details and I remember what these politicians have said. And I do my homework. I study what they do and I provide you links. They don't like that. They want people to obey, blindly obey. Keep your head down, say nothing, and obey. That's what they want because they don't value you. They don't respect you. They use you. I, on the other hand, have an entirely different point of view. You're an intelligent human being. You're an adult. You have wisdom. Whether you agree with me or not is not important to me. It's that we have the conversation, that you learn the information, that you are informed, and you make up your mind for yourself. Because an informed American is one of the most powerful people in the world. We have changed the world for the better because Americans are informed and they take action. You're not a checkbox. You're not obligated to give your vote to anyone. You're a human being, and I treat you like that. And the parties don't, especially the Democrats. Especially the progressives, they just do not. You're a checkbox. You owe them their vote. You're black. You owe the vote to Democrats. Why? What have Democrats done for black people? What have socialists done for black people? What have progressives done for black people? Then I would say that same thing. What have they done for women? What have they done for Hispanics? Oh, well, Republicans aren't that great. Not that great is still better than nothing at all. That's the argument. If you want to make that argument, Republicans haven't done much for minorities. Okay, but they did something. What has the left done? I'm talking about since 1970. What have they done? In the last 50 years, what have they done? Oh, nothing. They take you for granted. That's the problem. What is this? Joel says, I sent you an email talking about an attachment and failed to attach anything. I'm resending it. Yeah. I know that there was something that was coming through. While I'm doing the show, I really don't check my emails for the most part. Just to check to see if anyone's like saying, hey, Mike, I want to get on the show. That's about the only thing I check for. Otherwise, I look at it afterwards. So there is that. Other than the news that I know tomorrow I'll be in Staten Island. By the way, if anyone's in Staten Island, let me know. I will be there tomorrow night. So people can catch up with me there. Morano. I'm going to be over with Frank Morano tomorrow, some other Republicans. It's an event, and I'll be covering that event. So it'll be interesting. Yes, Con! Yes, that's my dog. He's a good dog. He's asleep right now. I don't want to wake him up. Let's see. And Grace says, deregulation and free markets and flatter taxes helps everyone. For the most part, yes. Yes. I think that's very, very true. It's kind of libertarian, but it's also just kind of true. It's just a truism that does help everyone. Yeah. All right. So we've talked a little bit about Ukraine and Russia. We've talked a little bit about Zoran Mandami. We've talked a little bit about what's happening in Washington, D.C. We've been talking about whether or not Orange Man is actually, in fact, bad. We've talked a little bit about healthcare and pet care. That's like everything that I wanted to talk about for the middle of the week. I know it doesn't. It seems like after all the huge wave of information and things happening at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of the Trump administration, now it seems like there's just nothing happening. There's nothing going on, but there's a lot going on. It's just that comparatively, it's so much more calm and quiet. That's true. But we're also in the middle of the summer. I mean, it's August. Most people are on vacation. Most people are walking away from the TVs right now, and they're enjoying the last days of summer. The election season for the normal person, for the average person in America, well, that's going to pick up on right after Labor Day. And everyone's going to get into election season. Everybody who deals with politics, we're actually moving into after Labor Day, we're going to be talking about 2026. We're talking about the midterm elections. Actually, behind the scenes, like Cory Booker, he's trying to figure out a way to convince people that he should run and be a nominee in 2028. Pete Buttigieg is trying to figure out a way to convince people that he's important to the Democratic Party in 2028. We're already getting people talking about 2026 and 2028. The 2025 election, it's already old news for people in politics. We just got to see the numbers. We already know who the players are. We already know what are the conditions. It's just a matter of what are the final votes. We kind of have an idea of what's going to happen, or at least what the vote count will be. And that's not a good thing. If you live in New York City, I hope you have a lot of money, because it's going to get real expensive real quick. There's going to be a lot of problems. It's not going to be good. Mandami is not going to be good for New York. He is going to destroy this city. Absolutely destroy it. I mean, we are not prepared for the kind of devastation that will come from the failed ideas that he's pushing. New York is just, we've never seen it before. People in America haven't seen that before. Most of what he wants to do won't be possible. And he will blame Republicans, because I can tell you already what's going to happen. If Mandami wins, half of all of the policies that he's presented will not happen. The New York State legislature and or the governor and or the federal government won't let him make those changes. He doesn't have that kind of power. New York City doesn't have that kind of power. So he won't be able to change half of all the things that he's saying. Won't be possible. The other half will fail, and they will fail miserably. And he will blame, in both cases, he will say, well, Republicans didn't stand up and mainstream Democrats didn't stand up. Here's the thing. Don't blame Republicans. Whatever happens to New York, you know, even if Curtis Lewa were to win, you can't blame what's going to happen to New York City on Republicans. Democrats control the New York legislature. They control at the moment the governor. And as long as New York State is controlled both by the governor and the state legislature by one single party, don't talk to me about Republicans or Libertarians or Green Party or any other party. The only people you can blame for the failures in New York are Democrats, because they're the only ones who are in charge. Same thing in California. California is a single party state. They're Democrats. Illinois, single party state. Michigan and Maryland, they're single party states. Don't talk to me about, Republicans did. No, Republicans didn't do a damn thing. We're not the ones in charge. Libertarians aren't in charge. Third parties like the Green Party, not in charge. You can't blame us. They always like to blame us. We're not in charge. We didn't make these policies. We didn't fail to enforce those policies. If we did, then we would have much more effectiveness. But we're not in charge. Now, I think voters should think about that very deeply. The left loves to blame everyone else for their failure. Why do you keep voting for them? Why do you keep believing the lie? It's the Republicans' fault. Not my state. Not in my state. Not New York. Not in the bluer than blue states, where the biggest failures have been happening across the country are the bluer than blue states. And the bluer than blue states are controlled only and singularly by Democrats. You can argue Democrats and progressives or socialists. Okay, make that distinction if you want. I don't see the difference. But fine. That's not Republicans. That's not libertarians. That's not conservatives. That's not the Green Party. It's not third parties. Why are you blaming us? If you want to see a change, guess what? Maybe you should stop voting for Democrats and progressives. I'm not telling you that you should. I'm not telling you that you must. I'm just suggesting to you that maybe if you did, might change something. I'm not saying that Republicans even have to win. I'm not telling you that conservatives or libertarians or Green Party, third parties, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just telling you that if you didn't vote Democrat, maybe you would see a change in the policies and they'd be more effective and more beneficial. But you still have to vote. If you don't vote, they don't care. That doesn't hurt them. It's when you do show up to vote and you don't vote like they programmed you to, that hurts them. That's what they're pissed off. That's why they're upset in Texas. That's why they're upset in California and in New York. Because you're not voting. Black people aren't voting Democrat enough. That's why they're pissed off. It's not about Black people can't vote. No, they can. They just don't want to vote Democrat. They just don't want to vote at all. They have apathy. Same thing with women. Same thing with Hispanics. And that's freaking them out. Not that you don't have, you can't vote. Yes, you can. What's fat chick's name? Out of Georgia. She was on Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek STD. I forget her name. God, I forget her name. Big fat. It was Stacey Abrams. That's it. Stacey Abrams. She liked to push that lie. Black people can't vote in Georgia. It's rigged against them. Largest turnout of Black women voters ever. Yeah, but Black people can't vote. Largest turnout ever. Yeah. They lie. They love to lie to you because they don't think you'll ever check the data. They don't think you'll ever have the conversation. They don't think you will ever speak up. They are trying to force you to not do it. Again, at the end of the day, make whatever decision you want. You're a grown adult. You're an intelligent human being. You're an American with wisdom. Decide for yourself. I just want you to be informed. And I'm more than happy to have the debate and discussion with you. I'm a Republican. I got no problems with that. I have a Republican bias. Got no problem with that. And we can, Mike, can we talk about why you think that? Sure, absolutely. That's why I'm here. I'm going to inform you with the facts as I showed you the links, showed you the data from the left, and then I told you why I think what I think. You don't have to agree. See, because I'm a Republican, I don't need to force you to agree with me. You'll never hear me say, I'm black, so you have to agree with me. You'll never hear me say, it's racist if you disagree with me. You'll never hear me say that. Because that is stupid. If the best argument you can make is orange man bad, that's not an argument. If the best argument you can make is you're a racist or you're a sexist, you're an ist or a phobe, then you have no argument. That's not an argument. Grace, it is worse than you think. I have heard many times, and I've run for elected office twice. And being a Republican and Black Hispanic, you've never heard so many curses and so many slurs coming from white liberals than me running as a Black conservative, a Black Hispanic conservative Republican. You've never seen so many slurs, racial, ethnic slurs thrown at me by those very same white liberals that say they're all about peace, love, and racial equality. They have no tolerance. The left has no tolerance. You don't agree with Orange Man bad? Well, I don't care what the reason is. They never ask, why do you think Orange Man isn't bad? They never ask that. They only say, well, you have to agree. You just don't understand. Well, would you like to know my reason? No. And I try that sometime, folks. Even if you're on the left, tell someone, gee, why is Orange Man bad? And they'll say, well, he has to be. He's Orange Man bad. Of course. It's obvious. And say, why? Give me the reason why. Well, he's harming these people. How? But he's harming them. How? Like closing the border. It's racist. Is it? Because closing the border doesn't just stop Hispanics or Black and brown people. We get people from around the world that go through our borders. That's not racist. Deporting illegal aliens. Not all illegal aliens are Black or brown skinned. A lot of them are, but we're mass deporting all of them. Not just the ones from Mexico or just the ones from Venezuela. We're getting them all. But there's no crime on being an illegal alien. And that's how you get child slaves in California at a commercial farm picking marijuana. Yeah. The left does not like anyone who actually isn't emotional. Passionate, yes, I'm very passionate, but I'm not emotional on the issues they want to be emotional, because it's easy to mess with someone, to make them look bad if they're just emotional. But if you're actually being logical, passionate, sure, logical, they don't have an argument. See the Backroom TV, August 19th. Yes, BronxNet Community TV. It'll be out also on YouTube. It'll also be on my channel after it comes out, after the embargo is lifted. And you're going to see you're going to see what happens when I get to be in a panel with people on the left. And this is and you'll see why people on the left don't like to be on panels with me. Not because I was rude, not because I was mean, I didn't curse or anything like that. and you'll see the big difference. You'll see why they get so angry. All right. So we've been on for quite some time. I want to thank everyone. I know it's the middle. It's got to get ready for work tomorrow. It's been hump day. I got to travel to Staten Island, which is a haul tomorrow for an event. We're going to have a great time. I'm looking forward to Sunday. Going to do the Sunday live stream starting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank you guys. Again, I thank you all. And I look forward. Any comments, you agree, you disagree with anything I've talked about, put it in the comments after the show. I will be happy to address any of your comments, whether you agree or disagree. Just be respectful, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. And I will talk to you again very, very soon. Thank you, everybody.